The spotlight was brighter than ever as the Indiana Fever traveled to Las Vegas for one of their biggest games of the season. Every matchup between these two teams already carries plenty of intrigue, but this one came with an extra layer of history. Fans still remembered the controversial moment from the 2024 season when Chennedy Carter delivered a hard off-ball foul on Caitlin Clark, a play that sparked days of debate across the basketball world. Nearly everyone wondered what would happen the next time the two sides met, even though Clark was unavailable for this particular game. Instead of focusing on old headlines, the Fever made a statement in the best way possible, by playing disciplined, physical basketball and earning one of their most impressive road victories of the year. From the opening tip, Indiana showed it wasn't intimidated by the challenge of facing one of the league's most accomplished franchises. The Las Vegas Aces have built a reputation for championship basketball, elite talent, and an ability to overwhelm opponents with scoring runs. Even without some of their biggest stars at full strength, they remained a dangerous team capable of turning a close game into a comfortable victory in just a few possessions. Indiana understood that if it wanted to leave Las Vegas with a win, it would have to match the Aces' intensity for all 40 minutes. The first quarter reflected exactly that kind of battle. Neither team was able to establish complete control, as both traded baskets and defensive stops. Every possession felt important, and both coaching staffs emphasized execution over flashy plays. Indiana attacked the paint whenever opportunities appeared, while Las Vegas relied on quick ball movement to create open looks from the perimeter. The lead changed hands several times, giving fans the feeling that they were watching two evenly matched teams determined to prove something. Although Caitlin Clark wasn't on the floor, Indiana never looked like a team missing confidence. Throughout the season, critics questioned whether the Fever relied too heavily on their rookie superstar whenever she was available. This game became an opportunity for everyone else to demonstrate just how much the roster had grown. Veterans stepped into larger offensive roles. Younger players embraced tougher defensive assignments, and the team's chemistry became more obvious with every possession. Kelsey Mitchell once again reminded everyone why she remains one of the league's most dangerous scorers. Rather than forcing difficult shots early, she patiently let the offense develop before attacking gaps in the defense. Whether driving toward the basket or pulling up for mid-range jumpers, Mitchell consistently found ways to pressure Las Vegas. Every basket she scored seemed to settle Indiana and keep the momentum from swinging toward the home team. Inside the paint, Aaliyah Boston quietly controlled several aspects of the game that don't always appear in highlight reels. She battled for rebounds, protected the rim, and made smart passes whenever double teams arrived. Boston's ability to stretch the floor also forced Las Vegas to defend differently, creating driving lanes for her teammates and preventing defenders from collapsing into the paint. Those subtle adjustments became increasingly important as the game continued. One player receiving plenty of attention before tip-off was Chennedy Carter. After spending time overseas following her departure from the Chicago Sky, Carter earned another opportunity to prove herself in the WNBA. Her scoring ability had never been questioned, but consistency and team fit remained major storylines throughout her professional career. Returning against Indiana naturally brought renewed attention because of everything that had happened between Carter and Clark during the previous season. Cameras frequently followed her movements, knowing fans would be watching every interaction. Instead of allowing emotions to dictate the game, Indiana focused almost entirely on its defensive game plan. Every defender communicated through screens, closed out aggressively on shooters, and refused to give Las Vegas easy opportunities. Rather than trying to create personal rivalries, the Fever concentrated on making every offensive possession difficult. That disciplined approach quickly paid dividends. Among the players making life difficult for Las Vegas was Sophie Cunningham. Known throughout the league for her toughness, energy, and willingness to embrace physical basketball, Cunningham accepted every defensive assignment with confidence. She fought through screens, denied passing lanes, and constantly pressured ball handlers into uncomfortable situations. Her impact extended beyond the box score because her relentless effort energized teammates every time she stepped onto the floor. The first half remained extremely competitive. Neither side managed to create much separation on the scoreboard, and every small run was answered almost immediately. Las Vegas found success attacking in transition, while Indiana countered with efficient half-court execution. Coaches on both benches adjusted rotations frequently, searching for combinations capable of generating momentum before halftime. One of the biggest differences during those opening 20 minutes was Indiana's willingness to compete for every loose ball. Hustle plays rarely received the same attention as spectacular dunks or long three-pointers, but they often decide close games. The Fever consistently dove for rebounds, challenge passes, and extended possessions through sheer determination. Those extra efforts slowly began shifting the game's rhythm in their favor. As halftime approached, Indiana managed to string together several productive possessions that allowed the team to enter the locker room with a narrow lead. It wasn't a commanding advantage, but it represented something important psychologically. Winning on the road against a championship-caliber opponent requires belief, and the Fever had every reason to feel confident after matching Las Vegas possession for possession during the opening half. Inside the locker room, head coach Stephanie White emphasized maintaining composure. She reminded her players that 40-minute games are rarely won in spectacular fashion. Instead, championships and signature victories are usually built through consistent execution, defensive communication, and trust in one another. Indiana had already shown all three qualities during the first half. Now the challenge was sustaining that level of focus for another 20 minutes. On the opposite side, the Aces understood they needed a stronger response. Their offense hadn't found its usual rhythm, and Indiana's defensive pressure disrupted several sets that normally produced high-quality shots. Coaches stressed better spacing, stronger rebounding, and quicker decisions with the basketball. They knew allowing the Fever to continue dictating the pace could quickly become a major problem. Everything was perfectly positioned for an intense second half. The game remained within reach for both teams. Individual matchups were becoming increasingly physical, and every possession carried greater importance. Fans sensed that whichever team delivered the first significant run after halftime would likely seize complete control. Indiana believed its preparation, defensive commitment, and balanced scoring could produce that decisive stretch, while Las Vegas counted on championship experience to swing momentum back in its direction. Neither side realized that the third quarter would ultima Telly define the night and transform a close contest into one of Indiana's most convincing victories of the season. The third quarter began much like the first half had ended, with both teams exchanging baskets and refusing to give an inch. For the opening few minutes after halftime, it looked as though the game would come down to the final possessions. Indiana continued to execute its offense patiently, while Las Vegas searched for the spark that had carried the franchise through so many big moments in recent years. The crowd expected the Aces to make their trademark run, but instead, it was the Fever who completely changed the direction of the game. Everything started with defense. Indiana tightened every rotation, closed passing lanes, and forced Las Vegas into difficult shots late in the shot clock. The Fever weren't gambling for steals or trying to create highlight plays. Instead, they stayed disciplined, trusted their teammates, and made every offensive possession a challenge for the Aces. That commitment on the defensive end quickly translated into fast break opportunities, allowing Indiana to push the pace before Las Vegas could get its defense organized. Kelsey Mitchell took full advantage of those opportunities. Already playing well through the first half, she elevated her game to another level during the third quarter. Every time the Aces looked as though they might regain momentum, Mitchell answered with another basket. She attacked the rim aggressively, knocked down timely jump shots, and repeatedly forced defenders into difficult situations. Her confidence spread throughout the roster, and suddenly the entire Fever offense began flowing with far more rhythm than it had earlier in the game. While Mitchell grabbed much of the attention offensively, Aaliyah Boston continued doing everything necessary to keep Indiana in control. She battled for offensive rebounds, protected the paint on the defensive end, and made smart decisions whenever the ball found her. Boston's ability to stretch the defense also created extra space for Indiana's guards, forcing Las Vegas to defend multiple threats instead of collapsing toward the basket. Those small advantages added up possession after possession. Another key factor during Indiana's decisive run was its bench production. Championship-caliber teams rarely rely on one or two players alone, and the Fever demonstrated exactly why depth matters. Every substitute entered the game ready to contribute, whether by grabbing a rebound, making the extra pass, contesting a shot, or knocking down an open jumper. Those contributions prevented Las Vegas from finding weak spots to attack and kept Indiana's energy level remarkably high. Defensively, Sophie Cunningham continued making life difficult for everyone she guarded. Her physical style never crossed the line, but she competed relentlessly on every possession. She fought through screens, stayed attached to shooters, and refused to allow easy catches on the perimeter. Her effort perfectly represented Indiana's overall mentality. Rather than trying to make a statement through words, the Fever let their defensive intensity speak for itself. One matchup naturally drew attention throughout the night. Chennedy Carter entered the game known for her ability to provide instant offense off the bench, but Indiana's defensive plan prevented her from finding any real rhythm. Every catch was contested, every driving lane was crowded, and every shot attempt required maximum effort. Instead of allowing Carter to become the spark Las Vegas needed, the Fever consistently forced difficult decisions and limited her offensive opportunities. That defensive execution wasn't about one player trying to settle old scores. It was about 5 defenders working together as a unit. Whenever Carter attempted to use a screen, another Fever defender was ready to help. Whenever she looked for space on the perimeter, someone stayed attached to deny an easy pass. The strategy required outstanding communication, and Indiana executed it almost flawlessly throughout the second half. As Las Vegas struggled defensively, frustration began to grow. Open three-point opportunities refused to fall, second-chance points became harder to find, and Indiana controlled the tempo with increasing confidence. Every missed shot by the Aces seemed to fuel another Fever fast break, and what had been a one-possession game slowly expanded into a double-digit lead. Perhaps the most impressive aspect of Indiana's performance was its composure. Young teams sometimes become overly excited after building a lead, leading to rushed possessions or unnecessary mistakes. The Fever showed no signs of that. They continued moving the basketball, making the extra pass, and trusting whichever teammate had the best opportunity to score. That maturity reflected the progress the team had made throughout the season. Lexi Hull also provided several momentum-changing plays. Whether it was a timely basket, a hustle rebound, or strong perimeter defense, she consistently delivered when Indiana needed an extra lift. Players like Hull often make the difference between good teams and great ones because they embrace whatever role is required on a given night. Against Las Vegas, her contributions proved invaluable. Meanwhile, Indiana's rebounding effort quietly became another major storyline. Offensive rebounds extended possessions, while defensive rebounds prevented the Aces from generating second-chance opportunities. Every extra possession increased the pressure on Las Vegas, forcing the home team to play nearly perfect basketball just to stay within striking distance. Instead, Indiana continued winning the battle for loose balls and controlling the glass. By the time the third quarter came to a close, the atmosphere inside the arena had completely changed. What had started as a tightly contested battle was now leaning heavily in Indiana's favor. The Fever had outplayed the Aces on both ends of the floor, combining efficient offense with disciplined defense to create a commanding advantage entering the final quarter. Still, nobody on Indiana's bench celebrated early. They understood that experienced championship teams are always capable of mounting late comebacks. Stephanie White reminded her players to stay locked in, continue executing the game plan, and avoid giving Las Vegas any reason to believe the game could still be rescued. One strong quarter had placed Indiana in an excellent position, but finishing the job would require another 10 minutes of focused basketball.